Hello and welcome to a new episode of P&L podcast. So today I have, obviously I still have my amazing co-host L. Hello L.
Hi, I'm still here. Mr. Pierre hasn't got rid of me yet. He hasn't bought a bigger sack to put my body in. Anyway, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you L. So today I would like to, well, I don't know what I would like to speak about. Like, I don't know what I should know, I believe. What do you think about speaking of having to know what you actually don't know? Because it did happen for me, and it does happen quite often, I believe, for quite a lot of people. They either it's because of professional reasons, or sometimes it's personal, but usually it's professional. They have to know things, but they don't actually know, but they have to learn those things as up really fast. Like in my case, I recently got a new amazing job. However, what I didn't know is that the only other colleague who knows everything about, because it's like a software engineer job, and he is a software engineer and he has been working in that company for like almost 6 years. 6 years. And in my case, I'm really new, less than a month, and I learned that he's leaving like right away. And you just try to understand the logic, everything, what's happening, and then you are just alone there. And so you have to try to understand what you don't actually understand. And I think it can be quite a good, challenging topic to speak about today. What do you think, Elle?
Yeah, I mean, learning, in your case, learning that the person who knows the job quite well is leaving could be quite daunting. But you see, like we go to school for a long time, like
Exactly.
more than 10 years to some people, and learning takes time. Let's be honest
And
here.
usually after school, you understand that actually you just know 1%, even like 0.0.0.1% of things you are supposed maybe to know.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, and this is to remind everybody that when you, let's say, get a bachelor, you you only know that type of job. You don't know everything. But speaking in just the same field, it's like you don't know most of the things, to be honest. It's like being a doctor. Doctors don't know
No,
what's happening, but
that's
then
right.
they rely on what they know for now and then start from there and learn and learn. And of course, it takes time. So I think what we're after here is how to learn quicker is what it is, especially when there's some sort of deadline, or maybe you just want to maybe other people. Well, of course, nobody wants to look stupid. I don't want to say the word, but
No, especially in front of, I don't know, for me, it's like the C-level people, like CIO, CEO, and so on. And you want, it's your job. You are supposed to make them feeling good, and they don't have to be stressed. Like you are supposed to manage and handle the situation. But at some point, you know that, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing.
yeah, sometimes I feel the same way too. And words just come out of my, for the lack of a better term, butthole. And I just hope for the best. It's like basically, and it has. I mean, sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right, and you can't be right all the time. So I what I'm saying is, well, some things are learned on the job, which I think is the
Yes.
same case as you.
It's, it's mostly everywhere, I believe. You always learn more by practicing, and the more experience you have, the more you know, but it doesn't mean, like, usually we tend to see someone as more senior because that person has a lot of experience, but not because that person has 5 degrees and 3 PhDs of something. No, it's usually about the experience you have, way more than the amount of diplomas and certificates and degrees in whatsoever subject. It's obviously important, but practicing will give you more knowledge of what it's actually happening in a real life situation. But the most important fact you have to take into account is to know where you shouldn't spend too much time because you know it's actually not something like essential to know, and where you should spend more time because you know that will be critical for the next coming months. And that's the hardest. A little bit like the Pareto law, to know the 20% that will give you 80% of what you should know. So not spending 80% of your time just for the 20% of things you don't really have to know, but the other way around. Spend exactly knowing where I have to spend my time for the most of the rewards.
Yeah. And sometimes people don't know where to start, which you have said already, and which I understand because, especially when you're lost in what you're currently doing, well, it's a bit difficult. But, when it comes to things like this, if you want to learn something as quickly as possible, I mean, you can't say, like, you can't set a deadline for those things because because sometimes it just doesn't happen. And and we should accept that and we should be okay with that. I think the first thing you must have is perseverance, let's say that, because if you're not motivated to learn something new and you're in some sort of pressure, then if you don't persevere and you give up quickly when when you felt like, oh my god, nothing is working and stuff like that, then like, I mean, that's your answer basically. It's
That's right.
yourself saying that, yeah, you can't do it, that's it.
You're absolutely right. And you know about the pressure you're speaking about earlier, I believe, like in my case, in my specific situation where I have to learn so much because I have to learn things I don't know, and I almost have to pretend I know, although I don't have to, but sometimes I have the feeling I have to. You are challenged to learn and to challenge yourself to learn much more, and I believe I wouldn't have learned that much and I wouldn't have challenged myself in the same way if I didn't have that pressure. So sometimes pressure is good because it forces you, like it's like the only way to to push all the energy you have to be really perseverant until you understand better.
Yeah.
It's it's a little bit like um, I mean there are a lot of different ways of learning, but it's like a sprint. If you know, or it's like you are almost broke, you have no money to pay the bill, the rent next month, and you know you have to do something. It's like a sprint. It's either I will spend every night for the next 2 weeks before I have to pay my new rent to be able to have a new job that pays me more, or at least a new job, or maybe to create a job for myself, so working for myself. Otherwise, I know I'm basically fucked. Like uh, there's no end. Like I will have to live in the street, or I don't know. So I have no other way I can do. It's only like to push myself as much as I can, and to take all the energy I can. I would never have done otherwise, to be able to resolve that issue. So either it's because of a rent, because you don't have money anymore, or because you know that the situation will be really bad. Sometimes it's to save a life of someone. Like I'm thinking of, I don't know, firemen. Usually they wouldn't go to a building with fire if there was no one alive there. But they know someone, they know they might be able to save someone's life, so they do it. But they don't do it for fun, just because they know they can save someone. And it's exactly the same. Sometimes it's just because of a job and a situation where you know you really like the job, you like the new position, you like what you do. However, it always happens differently than it was supposed to, than expected. And sometimes you have to learn so quickly because you know that's the only way you can do. Otherwise, if you wait too much after, it will be much harder to get that knowledge. Sometimes, in my case, my colleague, he's like he I tried, like he had 4 weeks before leaving. So as much as I could, I would catch up with him, doing the handover to me. And so I could get as much as I can of how to procedure. I mean, what's the procedure of doing A, B, and C, how to deploy that specific service and product, and I don't know, deeper in the server. I don't want to be too technical, but there are a lot of things which are different in every business, and it's now or never.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think pressure is a double-edged sword, to be honest. Like, based on your example, it's like, okay, it's either I quit my job now and do something else to be able to pay my rent, or, I could just give up right now and be homeless. That's the fascinating thing about pressure.
But usually you don't want to be in the other situation,
Usually.
being homeless.
Yeah.
And so it's bad pressure. It feels like bad pressure, but you would have never done it if you didn't have that kind of pressure. And sometimes it's really good. Like during COVID, during the pandemic in 2019 and 2020, a lot of people had jobs they didn't like for over 10 years. They hated their job. And then they were laid off by the company. They were basically made as redundant because the company wasn't generating enough money to pay them. And actually, thanks to this, they could create their own job. I don't know, living with a passion, or I have seen a lot of situations like this. They just sell courses online because actually they are really good at what they were doing before, or maybe they just do something really different and they live somewhere else. And thanks to that situation, the way they were made redundant, they had also benefits from the government because it was COVID time, so they could have also some help. And now they are so happy because actually the job they were doing, it was like a okay situation. It was paying the bill, but that's it. They didn't like it. It just, it pays the bills. And then you just stay in the same situation for years and years and years, and it passes so quickly. It flies, and after it's like 10 years, and you realize, wow, actually I don't like my life. I do a job I don't like, it pays the bills, but I can have much better than this. And thanks to that pressure of, you are made redundant, you have 3 weeks, you have maybe benefits of 3 weeks or 3 months, and then, for 3 months, you have 3 months paid, but you don't have work. So you have to use those 3 months to do as much as you can to either find a better job you like or to create your own job. Nowadays, online is obviously you have a lot of competition, so it's not easy, but it's definitely possible if you do it well. And sometimes pressure sounds really bad. It's like it sounds like something really bad for you, but over time, later, maybe a few weeks later, you will say, oh, actually, fortunately, I had that kind of pressure. It's the same. There was actually a video online, or I don't remember where it was. Normally, a mom is never supposed to lift a car. like it's so heavy, but her kid was underneath the car. I don't know how it did happen, and so it comes from you. You know that it's your kid, and you have energy and strength you wouldn't have otherwise. And the mom was able to lift the car to save her kid. She was able to somehow. She did like an effort she would never have been able to do otherwise. But here, because of the situation, you just do things. It's the same about survival. When you know you might die, you will do things you wouldn't be able to do because you know you are in danger. And so it's like the body is giving you some extra. I don't know. You don't feel the pain anymore to lift a
Adrenaline.
car. Normally, it's impossible. But in that situation, you your body just do it, and you don't even feel how heavy it is.
Yeah. But that's only the positive side of pressure. Let's
Yeah,
be honest here.
exactly.
Because some people, especially those who have had enough in life, will probably just get off the grid, stop working, and live in the woods, you know? That's my plan.
It
And
may be because they don't feel the other way is too bad, or I believe it's because in your case you don't really see, for you the other, like the other side of the situation is not that bad.
yeah,
But if you know it's really bad, maybe for you you are just fine. I mean, you are okay with the living in the street. I believe you wouldn't, but maybe you don't feel the danger that the same way as other people, and that's why you wouldn't feel like the motivation. And in my case, I believe I wouldn't be able to sleep at all for
not in the streets, but
10
in the
nights.
woods. In the woods.
No, but to not end up there,
Oh, yes.
I wouldn't be able to sleep to fix that situation before I would end up in that bad situation.
Yeah,
It's like a survival. I mean, it depends what's important for you.
yeah.
Maybe for you, the place where you live is not as important as for other people. Maybe, and that's really fine too. But again, I believe if you know, I know for you, food is so important. So let's put that way. If someone tells you, okay, you are in a situation where if you don't act now, and maybe acting now might take a few days, if you don't act now, you might not be able to eat for 20 days. Then I believe you will be able to not like to give as much as you can, like things you wouldn't have done otherwise. You wouldn't sleep, you wouldn't I don't know, you would just work for days and nights, because you know that if you don't do what you have to do now, you might not be able to eat. And I know how food is important for you, so I believe then that's maybe a better example in your case.
Well, I think your example is more about survival and everything.
Here, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
because of course
It's
you
funny
would
how
think.
we just digress
Yeah.
from the initial topic.
Yeah, but then it's all about survival. So of course, being human is like a flight and fight response, and then it's like, okay, my life is on the line. It's time to fight for my life. But then
Yes.
sometimes the kind of pressure that you have on a daily basis, which doesn't mean like you're gonna be homeless or you're gonna live in the woods or you won't be able to eat, or I don't know, your kid is dying under the car. It's like it's different. And sometimes
Indeed.
pressure could be in small doses or could be in big doses. Might drive somebody into, let's say, quitting or quitting their jobs. Could be, or it's like pressure is good, but in small doses, and let's not say frequent for sure, because it's like when all you meet, let's just say on a job, like on a daily basis, it's what you see all the time. It's like, would you want to go to work then? It's like it's not worth it.
No.
Life is all about enjoying
So-
things.
yeah.
When you want to persevere for yourself to learn and to do a good job for yourself, that's good. But then being pressured to prove something, it's a bit of like, it's good to prove something to people too, don't get me wrong, but then starting with yourself first is like proving to yourself that yes, this is me and this is how I advertise myself. And yes, the advertisement is not false. So this is
But you don't
bas-
have to advertise yourself. What do you mean?
I mean, like saying to people,
Oh,
that's
yes.
basically advertising yourself.
For
like,
you,
oh yeah, I can do this and that.
does it give you pressure when you say, "Oh, I will do that"? Like when you know people expect you to do this.
Well, yeah, because
If you
people
say,
expect
"Oh, you know
things.
what? By on the 31st, now it's like we are like it's 18th. I don't know. Yeah,
19th.
19th. You say by the 31st, I will I will have this job. I mean, or I will quit my job and I don't know why we are speaking about jobs, but maybe it's like the most common thing for everybody. So I will quit my job and I will have that job in that field I wanted for so long. At least you know people. Maybe if you bet even like you say, okay, if it doesn't happen, then I own you $200. Otherwise, you own me. I mean, yeah, you can even bet. Will you give you good pressure?
Well,
Will it give you good pressure or not?
I mean, depends because I haven't really been in a situation
Yeah,
where
yeah, exactly.
this
It's
and
really
that.
hard
Then
to
it depends
imagine when
really.
you.
Like if you haven't been in a situation, I think good pressure is is something that doesn't come from let's say a boss, because there's a difference in power dynamic, and of course
A boss.
a boss like your
Oh,
boss,
boss. Oh, yes.
your boss, something like your manager. It's like because you would only think about deadlines and stuff like that, not about you and your personal gain. You see, but then the topic here is about learning
How to
things
exactly
quickly.
self-taught
Yes.
and the best
So
way you
so
can
yeah.
learn things you don't know. But sometimes it's also about, like, I believe usually we are able to have a better strategy of learning when we are under pressure. It's the same for exams. Like usually, I don't know for your L, but in my case, I was like when I had an exam at school, I would prepare my exam the night before.
I do that too.
You do that too.
Yeah.
Because you know the night before is like the last, like you don't have other chance. Then you have pressure. But you know you have to prepare that exam 2 months in advance. But obviously you won't do it 2 months in advance. You don't feel pressure. But then when it's like, next Monday I have to do it, then I really have to do it. I don't have other choice. And then you are able to spend the whole night to study from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. because it's your only chance you got.
Yeah, well,
And
that
sometimes you wonder, why did I put myself in that situation? Not sleeping, feeling tired. I could have done it earlier, but you just don't because before you don't feel that pressure. And sometimes, if it's not by a passion, for me it's a little bit different because my passion is my job. My job is my passion. However, learning things about the company, obviously you cannot know those knowledge until you start at a new company. And the same for the specific complexity of the company the kind of technical complexity. It's only like you wouldn't know that kind of complexity before you start the job. And then you learn a lot. And if I believe I wouldn't have learned in that short period of time if I didn't have the same pressure. I mean, I would have done it still, but not the same intensity, not with the same intensity.
I think the kind of pressure you're talking about is feeling relief afterwards
Oh,
after
yes.
having done the
After.
job, not feeling a sense of achievement for yourself because you did it. Because you see, I also felt the same pressure when I was taking my board exam. I studied for 2 months. It was really hardcore. I was not sleeping well and I got fat, which is, I gotta be chubby, okay? I'm not fat phobic
In
or
2
anything.
months.
In 2 months, and
So,
that's really a short amount of time. And I was pressured, but then I didn't feel a sense of relief in the end after I
after.
realized that yes, I passed the exam. I felt like, wow, I did it. Like that's amazing. But then some
But if you
pressure.
had to learn by yourself, imagine there's no date, no deadline. You have to pass it at some point. but no pressure, probably you'd have done it in 6 months, maybe. But
Yeah.
you are able to do it in 2 months thanks to the pressure and to the
Yeah,
deadline.
the good kind of pressure, not the kind that would
So
make
you
you
did
feel
it in a really
relief.
short amount of time, I
Yeah.
believe. So that was amazing. But if you knew you didn't have the pressure, maybe learning that amount of things in that kind of, I know how hard it is, a pharmacist, I mean, a board exam to become a pharmacist,
A
isn't it?
licensed one.
A license. Uh, it's not easy. And 2 months, it's actually just 8 weeks.
2 months is basically like the tip in the iceberg in the pharmacy world. Jesus Christ, how did I do it? I have no idea.
You see, but maybe it was the pressure helped you.
Yeah, it did help me, but a good kind of pressure, like the kind that would say, "Yep, I am pressured, but then I achieved it." So, which brings us back to our main topic, which is how do we learn quickly as
Exactly
possible,
how.
which is what I
Without
did.
obviously side effects, because
Yes.
here for you the side effects, well, it was bad for your health. You got you
I got a bit
you got
chubby.
a bit, yeah,
Yeah.
chubbier, and
Yeah, I wasn't sleeping
you
well.
didn't eat good food.
Well, basically, I was unhealthy at that time. Let's just say that because like no, I'm sorry for saying fat.
You're
Anyway,
young, so
Yeah.
that was, you could handle it, but maybe now you wouldn't be able to because it's not good for the body.
Yeah. So yeah, basically going back to square one. No, is that a proper term to be saying? Let's just erase that. But going back to the topic at hand, how to learn really quickly. Like, yeah, good pressure is good too. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
But then,
it is.
sometimes things has to come from within first before we speak about from what's the outside, because usually pressure is from the outside.
Exactly.
So
Sometimes you love so much something, or it did probably happen for you, and for me it did happen. You start reading a book. I remember it did happen for me for the first Harry Potter, and I really liked it, and I spent like hours and hours. I couldn't stop reading. That was only for the first book of Harry Potter. And it wasn't pressure, it's just I was so passionate in the story. I was so, like, the story was so amazing. I just wanted to read everything and I wanted to know the end. It's the same with a good movie. You cannot stop watching the movie or the TV show because you like it so much.
yeah. So basically, we're
That's
speaking
different.
here.
That's like more about pleasure and not pressure.
But still, like being passionate is good too. It's like you persevere because you're passionate. You won't fight through all those
No,
obstacles of, wow, this is difficult,
It's
but
more
then I
about
want to learn.
enjoying.
So it's passion and perseverance, and then what else? Probably lots of coffees, because
Coffees.
because we only have 24 hours in our life,
Exactly.
and we spend
Everybody
8 hours
has
without
the
sleeping.
same unit in their day, but some accomplish way more. Some are happier, some are less happier. I mean, not that happy. It's funny because everybody uses their time differently, in a good way, in a less. I mean, good way again depends of what
Depends on
what
what.
you mean by good or bad way. Maybe for you it's a good way. Maybe for someone else they would say, "Oh no, that's not a good way." Sometimes it's about learning. Some people obviously can learn quicker than others.
Yeah.
Obviously, like everybody has different kind of memory, and we can learn anything. Anybody here on planet Earth can learn exactly the same thing, but the amount of time to learn that topic will be different, and this is why some are better at some things than others, because for some, learning law or medicine will take 10 years or 20 years, and from some others it will just take 5 years, because it's unfair. But we are able to learn the same thing, but not with the same amount. I mean, not the same speed, not with the same speed.
Well, yeah, to piggyback on that, then I have another one to add on how to learn
amazing.
quickly, which I always say on previous podcasts, know yourself. Because
You have
if
to know
you
exactly.
expect to learn this idea
That's a really good
in 1
point.
hour, and then you know in yourself that probably it won't be possible for you because it's just isn't, and that's okay. Then you should have the oh, sorry, it's just sorry, something's ringing, but you should have the I don't know the proper term, but maybe
Accept.
acceptance on what you can do now, because you would only frustrate yourself if you say, wow, I thought I would learn this in an hour, but no, it took me like 8 hours. I'm so stupid. Does it help you? It doesn't.
No, you just have to know where you are good at, and it's fine. Like you should never compare yourself with others. Everybody's different, and if you are not able to, like if you are good at memorizing some texts or some, like really long dialogues, you shouldn't push yourself to become an actor, like playing a play as a theater, if you know you are not good at this. Otherwise you will always be frustrated. However, you should push a lot of your perseverance where you are good at, because then you will just become better and better and you will feel good. But for things you are not good at, since it's just part of yourself, if you try to be better, it will be okay, but you will always be not as good as the others who are already much better than you in that specific field, or maybe the average. Like in my case, I'm not really good with math. I try to avoid math the more I can, because I know I'm not good at. I can be better, but I will always be not as good as the ones who don't have difficulties with math. So I will always feel frustrated, and I will always need more time. So for me, it's like a waste of time. So I prefer to spend more time in things I'm really good at, like creativity, creating things, solving problems, and others.
But which brings me to my next point then. What if you really love to do that, but then you're not good at it? So, well, do it.
So you have to know yourself. So you have to know, when you start knowing yourself, you will it will be a little bit challenging for you. So maybe you should do it a little bit differently. What would you suggest?
Well, to piggyback on, let's say, wanting to be a theater actor, but you can't memorize lots of lines, then how about
Right.
starting at small roles where you don't need to speak a lot, and then you start from there? Because if you really want to have something,
Improve,
point number one, which is perseverance, and if you really want it, and then and you have the what do you call that? Like you have the what do you call that when you're an employee and you're
Unemployed.
your
Benefits.
not benefits, but more like when you're an employee, your work ethics, let's say. Your work
Right.
ethics would sometimes bring you to where you want to be. Just because you're not the best at it doesn't mean you can't practice. Which brings me to the next point. Practice makes perfect. If you're not that great at this thing and you're trying to
Wait,
learn it,
for
then you
me,
practice it.
practice makes you. It will help you to progress.
Yeah.
You will never be perfect.
Yeah, well, practice makes
There's a
progress. Let's say
saying,
that.
actually. I will just try to find it. It's somewhere on my phone. Practice, because practice
Makes progress. Yeah, let's just say that.
makes
Because,
progress, but not perfect.
yeah, because nobody's perfect, apparently. Who are
Because
making
no
these
one,
mottos?
no one is perfect, and it will give you like a kind of a negative pressure, because
Yeah.
then you will expect you to be, oh, if I practice, I will be perfect, but actually you won't.
Yeah, what about, let's
Practice.
say this. Practice makes progress for a better you. Because when you
Yeah.
say, well, I don't try math because I feel like it's not good for me and I won't be the best of the best among the math people. No, compare yourself to your previous self, okay? You're better than the you before. So it's really not good if you compare
Exact-
yourself to other people.
No,
Otherwise,
no,
you won't
never.
progress
And that's why
on
you will
things you
never be
want to be.
perfect, because what means perfect? So
Yeah.
yes, practice makes progress. You will know, oh, the more I practice, tomorrow will be better than yesterday.
Just what I said.
the day later will be better than and so on. The more you practice, the better you will become. But perfect, it sounds like you have to compare yourself with other people, and like what means perfect? Like it's like a competition, and so you won't enjoy the moment you practice because you believe I have to be perfect. And then as soon as you stop practicing, you will already not be perfect anymore. So no, you will just make progress, and the more progress you will make, the more doors you will be able to open, and the more things you will be able to learn as addition. Like
Yeah, that's yeah. So what have we gotten so far from this conversation? Perseverance. What's next? Knowing yourself, practicing, and what else did I say? Sorry.
well, practice self-taught,
Yeah. So plenty of
self-taught,
those things, and I think this is why I think about pressure as something that is a double-edged sword, because some pressures are good, some are bad. So
that's right.
the bad ones doesn't help you in the end, and especially when you're pressured by an outside force or somebody, and then you're pressured to learn quicker, but then you know yourself that it takes more time for you, then you will say, oh my god, I'm so stupid because I didn't learn this and that, and it doesn't help you, especially
No.
mentally.
Definitely not.
So yeah.
Because sometimes you wonder, like, if you're too harsh with yourself, you will give up at some point. It's the same when you are a self-taught person. Usually you are self-taught because you like what you do. You enjoy what you do and you really want to do it by yourself. So you start learning. But if you like, it shouldn't be a torture. If for you feel forced by something external, then it's the same, when you love cooking, you love baking cakes, but then it's like after you sell your cakes and then you open a bakery and then 2 bakeries, then 3 bakeries, and you have to work so hard from 9 a.m. until midnight, and your passion becomes a nightmare. And so yeah, you have to really know
To have the perfect amount
where
of pressure.
and where to stop.
Yes.
Where is the limit for you?
Yeah, because once the fun is gone, then
There's no light anymore.
Yeah.
It's the same about fixing some values for your success. It's good. Everybody wants to succeed in life, but you still need fun. Like if for you succeeding becomes just a sprint, but not something enjoyable, then if you don't have passion, it will be harder to keep up for the long run.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I remember now what I said after
Oh,
after perseverance is
amazing.
passion.
Passion.
Yeah, passion. Otherwise,
Passion is a bit like icing on the cake. The icing on the cake. If you don't have the icing on the cake is a bit doesn't taste
the
much.
same.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a cake.
No.
Yeah, but
It's missing some taste or bit blade. It's like
yeah. So, what do you have to add more
Well-
on how to learn quickly?
what you have to learn quickly. Sometimes I was thinking actually of to learn better, you have to teach also what you learn.
Yeah, that's right.
That could be also an option because it helps you to organize better the information. It reinforces the information in your head. You learn something, you know the knowledge, but then how would you explain this to someone? And this is where also I want to go to my point of what you have learned. How would you explain to someone like I'm 5?
Yeah, like the subreddit are Eli 5.
Eli
Yeah.
5, yes.
Yes. So
And if you can explain what you learn if, especially if it's complex to someone like a 5 years old kid, then probably you are in a good position.
Yeah, like if you're able to simplify a really complicated concept coming from forming words from your mouth that even a 5 year old can understand means that you actually have a broad understanding of your material. So, yeah, teaching something and having others to understand and comprehend, I think they're both the same words meaning anyway, to teaching others and then making them comprehend the material. It says a lot about your understanding, because even those who haven't touched base with the material yet has an understanding after listening to you, which is a good tell that you actually have learned the material. So it's like a test of whether you did learn the material well or not for yourself, to be able to teach it to others who are still starting.
That's right. And taking an example, you are saying you did your board exam. How would you explain like 1% of what you have learned to a five years old kid?
Like, which concept though?
I have no idea because it's really hard. That concept
Yeah.
looks easy. Yes, it makes sense, something complex. If you can destructure that complexity to simple words, because usually in every field you have a
Jargons,
a
yes.
jargon, and so it's hard to reuse simple words everybody can understand, because I don't know why, for some reason in every field, pharmacist, IT, startup world, finance, medicine, construction, they have their own jargon. And someone who is not from that field doesn't get everything. So you have to reuse the simple words everybody is used to, and that's the hardest part. And then how can you, like, if you speak about, I don't know, something really scientific, again, it's so hard to explain this to average people. So that's the first thing you have to know to do. And then from what you have learned, again, you have, it's not because you understand that you can understand, like, you have to understand in a really deep level to be able to re-explain things on paper. And it's hard to be a good teacher, because a good teacher means you know it so well, you can explain in a lot of different ways. You can explain to someone like a 5 years old, you can explain to someone who is in the same level as you, so you can use different terms, or you can explain to just an adult one, or you can explain to your wife or your husband who is more like, who wants to know more about how is your job, but not too much deeper what you do, but more like how it's like your everyday, like day-to-day job. And that's hard, it's not easy.
So, like an example of explain it to me like I'm five is like how a tablet is like a boo boo pill is like a boo boo pill. How is it being absorbed in your body? So, like, first you put it in your mouth with water.
Yeah.
If you dry swallow it, you're a bit of you're a bit of a different level of humanity because you dry swallow, and then it goes in your stomach, and some boo boo pills are absorbed from the stomach, some are in the small intestine, and then you poo poo it. That's it. And some medications doesn't need to undergo those processes, such as things that you put in a shot.
A shot.
Shot, like injection.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Yes.
like
That might scare kids.
yes.
At least it would scare
But
me.
they would understand that some doesn't require to be somewhere to be absorbed. But yeah, that's basically like the simplest I could go.
So you see, it's really nice because we can explain things with easy words, but still into details to like a 5 years old. Then to a professional person who is also in your field, you can go really like into little details, but with the same jargon. Then what I was saying, I don't know what I was saying that, I don't know the reason, but if you want to explain to your husband or to your boyfriend, you would just go on the surface, just like, oh yeah, I just gave that pill, it's just, that's it, just on the surface. And you know about who is asking you, you know more or less what kind of words you use because you master so well the topic. You can, it's a little bit like, I don't know, playing cards. You know which one, like what kind of words and how far you can go in details. It's the same, I believe, someone like you are a pharmacist, but someone who is a doctor, to the patient, they will use different words as well. Uh, not too not too much in details, like, oh, what do I have, doc? Oh, well, you have this. Not to scare too much the patient, but at the same time, they have to be, they don't have to lie. They have to say what the patient has, which is normal, it's the body of the patient. But it's hard to, like, sometimes I had some doctors who were not really able to explain to me in easy words. Especially when you go to dermatologists, they will use really difficult words to describe a mode or something like that. Sometimes they want to pretend being smart, I don't know, because they use so complicated, it's like Greek words.
Latin.
Yeah, Latin words for the little modes you have, but you don't know the word, so it doesn't help you too much. You just want to know if it's what's the name,
Melanoma.
melanoma or not. You just want to know if it's really bad for you or not, but you don't want to know the name of the word. I mean, yeah, it can help if you want to Google it later, but usually the word is so hard that you can't even Google it. Like, you would forget as soon as you leave the doctor. I mean, as soon as you would leave the hospital. So yeah, it's not easy to teach yourself and to know, like I believe in my case I would still suggest to have a strategy, a plan. Okay, I have 4 weeks to learn this and this and this and this. Where should I start? What's the priority? You have to know the priority. You have to know where you should start first, because sometimes you believe this is urgent, but maybe it's not what the business needs. If it's about a job, you have to know what you can still learn later and what you have to get the information ASAP from someone who might be leaving. And it's very important to know, priorities. I believe priorities are still the key in this kind of situation. And then to have learning strategy plan with every day I should learn this and this and this. Tomorrow, like on Monday, a little bit like a calendar, like a diary from Monday to Sunday or Monday to Friday. Every day what you have to learn and what you would like to learn to be able to achieve your mission in 2 months or 5 months.
Yeah, but smart goal it.
Yeah.
And manage your expectations, because and your mileage may vary. So just keep those things in mind, because otherwise, having a plan is good, having a structure is good. It means that you're ticking off checklist there.
At least you
technical.
feel good
Yes.
when you have a checklist, because it sounds like you do it smart.
Yeah, but manage your expectations for sure. Like, I have nothing against that. Depends, case on case. Mileage might vary, to be honest.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Know yourself, which I already said all the time. It's like, I'm like a broken record. Know yourself, because otherwise, if you just say, for Monday, I learned how to operate the brain. Tuesday the heart. It doesn't work that way.
So you don't have to work hard, but you have to work smart.
Work smart, work hard as well. Especially when you have a deadline.
But you shouldn't be blunt at working too hard and not knowing or what I do, is it really important? You have to be also strategic. And so
Yeah.
for doing that, you have to be smart to know it's not about just about working hard, it's also about priorities. Again, like what should I learn now and what can wait for later, and maybe what's not important actually. What I
Yeah.
thought it was important, it's actually probably not.
How about step one, work smart, step two, work hard? Because working smart really is is good at the beginning, but then if you don't work hard on the materials in front of you, then basically there's no point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Do you have anything else to add?
I think I've talked too much today. I
That's
haven't had
nice. I
any.
like it. It has been quite a while. We haven't
Yes.
done a show together. So I was so glad we could again do it one today. And I believe we'll do another one really soon.
Yeah, the hypothetical nose was blocked for, I would say, three months, let's say that. And finally, it has breathed a fresh scent of menthol and is now decongested. And we have the time to do a little bit of a talk show. I haven't had a drop of alcohol, to those of
No.
you who are listening.
I'm
I
a
just talk a
witness.
lot.
Yes.
Anyway,
Beautiful.
jokes aside.
It was a great talk. I hope it will help to anyone else who is also in the same situation, having to learn the impossible, having to learn what is not there, and so learning what they don't know. But at the end of the day, everything is possible. The only limit you have is the one you set by yourself.
And by physics. Anyway, see ya.
See you later.